In 2022, 25-year-old Arelie Garcia vanished without a trace, leaving behind only her car, her phone, and 1,000 unanswered questions. What happened on that seemingly ordinary September morning? The day began like any other. Areli left her home in Salinas, California, at sunrise, texting her sister a simple good morning. But she never arrived at work, and by nightfall her bright red Honda was found abandoned on a lonely stretch of Highway 1 in Big Sur, hours away from where she was last seen. Inside her car were her phone, wallet, and keys, yet there was no sign of Areli. As we unravel this mystery, each twist raises more questions than answers. Did she go to Big Sur alone? Was someone else involved? And most haunting of all, why has no trace of her ever been found? Arelie Garcia was the kind of person who could light up a room with her energy and laughter. At 25, she was known around Salinas, California, not only for her warm smile, but also for her passion for cars. She worked as a service advisor at a local Chevrolet dealership, a job that let her be around the vehicles she loved so much. Her prized possession was a customized red Honda Accord that turned heads wherever she went, known by friends and neighbors as Areli's car. For her, it wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of independence and pride. Areli came from a close-knit family, especially bonded with her two sisters, Veronica and Elisette. The three of them were inseparable, texting each other daily and sharing every detail of their lives. Shopping trips, Starbucks runs, and late-night movies were just some of the little routines that kept them close. Veronica remembers how Areli, the baby of the family, would always bring laughter to every gathering, lifting spirits no matter how tough the day had been. She just had this way of making everything brighter, Veronica shared, reflecting on how her sister could turn even a regular family outing into a joyful memory. Beyond her fun-loving side, Areli was incredibly caring and always willing to lend a hand. If anyone needed help, Areli was the first to step up, often going out of her way to support those she loved. Her sisters remember her as someone who never hesitated to put others first, always ready with a joke or a hug when times got tough. On the morning of September 22, 2022, 25-year-old Arelie Garcia left her home in Salinas, California at around 6:30 a.m. It seemed like any other day. She sent a quick good morning text to her sister Veronica, a small but cherished routine the sisters shared. Areli had her day planned, a morning at work as a service advisor at My Chevrolet, where she was expected to start her shift at 7:30 a.m. But by late morning, things started to feel off. Around 10 a.m., Veronica got a call from one of Areli's co-workers. The manager was concerned. Areli hadn't shown up, and she hadn't informed anyone she would be late or absent. This was unlike her. She was always responsible and stayed in touch if her plans changed. Veronica felt a pang of worry but tried to remain calm. She reasoned that maybe Areli's phone had died or there had been an unexpected delay. But as the hours passed with no word from Areli, worry quickly turned into panic. Veronica and her other sister, Elisette, began calling and texting her repeatedly, hoping for any response. Each call went straight to voicemail. Each message was left unanswered. By afternoon, they had called her dozens of times, and not hearing back was enough to set their hearts racing. Desperate to find her, the sisters activated the Find My iPhone feature. To their surprise, the tracking app indicated Areli's phone was in Big Sur, over an hour away from Salinas. Shocked and confused, they couldn't understand why she would have driven there so early in the morning without telling anyone. With a growing sense of dread, Veronica and Elisette, along with their families, headed out to Big Sur, following the location on her phone. By the time they arrived at the spot, the sun was beginning to set. There, on the side of Highway 1, they found Areli's bright red Honda Accord parked on the turnout. Her car was locked, but her belongings were still inside. Her phone, wallet, and keys lay untouched. Everything looked as if she had just stepped out for a moment, but there was no sign of her. The quiet road, surrounded by thick trees and steep cliffs, was an eerie setting. The family's worry deepened as they realized they had no idea where she could be. As darkness began to settle, police joined the search, scouring the area for any trace of Areli. But as the hours passed, there was no sign, no clues, just the unsettling sight of her empty car, holding a mystery no one could yet solve. With Arelie Garcia's car found abandoned on the remote stretch of Highway 1 in Big Sur, police immediately launched an investigation to piece together the events that led to her disappearance. The first step was to review surveillance footage from her neighborhood. Early footage from the morning of September 22nd showed Areli leaving her Salinas apartment alone at 6:30 a.m., dressed in casual black leggings and a hoodie rather than her usual work attire. To her family, this was strange. It didn't seem like she was planning to go to work. This first clue cast doubt on what her intentions might have been that morning. As the investigation unfolded, more questions began to arise. Following the call from Areli's family, authorities used her Find My iPhone data to pinpoint the car's location in Big Sur. The family was the first to arrive and confirm it was her car, but upon inspection the scene felt off. The red Honda Accord was locked, with her phone, wallet, and keys still inside. Police quickly noted that while there were no signs of forced entry or struggle, some details were puzzling. For one, the driver's seat was pushed back farther than Areli would have set it. At 5'5", she typically had the seat closer to the steering wheel. Then there was her car's suspension, a customized feature that allowed her to raise and lower the car's height. Normally, she would slam the car or lower it completely when parked, but in this instance, the suspension was set high, raising suspicion that someone else may have driven it. These details were subtle but significant, suggesting that someone else might have been behind the wheel when the car was parked on the highway. Detective Edwin Cruz of the Salinas Police Department took the lead on the case. Cruz was determined to uncover what had happened and launched an extensive search effort, calling in specialized teams to comb the area. Over the next several days, Monterey County Sheriff's Search and Rescue joined the effort, bringing drones equipped with infrared cameras and highly trained search dogs to the rugged Big Sur terrain. The drones scanned the dense woods and steep cliffs surrounding the area, while ground teams examined the roadside and nearby trails in hopes of finding any sign of Areli. Despite these extensive efforts, the search yielded no new clues. The wooded hillsides and rocky cliffs made the search challenging, with few clear paths or accessible points. The dogs, trained to detect scents and track human presence, found nothing. Days turned into weeks, but no trace of Areli was discovered. Investigators were left with the unsettling realization that she had seemingly vanished into thin air. Detective Cruz continued to examine the evidence. Back at the station, police looked deeper into her phone records and bank accounts, but no suspicious activity surfaced. The last recorded activity on her phone was her good morning text to Veronica, and her bank records showed no unusual transactions. To further complicate matters, no one close to Areli had any reason to suspect foul play. Her friends and family described her as responsible and well-liked, with no known enemies or troubled relationships. Adding to the mystery was the location itself. Big Sur was over an hour away from her home, and her family couldn't think of any reason she would drive there so early without telling anyone. It was also unlike her to leave without a word. The abandoned car, locked with her belongings inside, hinted at either a sudden change in plans or a scenario where she was taken by surprise. But without more concrete evidence, each theory led to more questions than answers. As days went by without new leads, the public became increasingly invested in Areli's case. Her family continued to organize searches and spread awareness, while the police combed through every piece of evidence they could find. Detective Cruz and his team faced mounting pressure to solve the mystery, but with no further clues, they were left circling around the few details they had. With every day that passed, the reality of Areli's absence grew heavier on her family and friends. Her disappearance had gone from a search for answers to a haunting reminder of how quickly someone could vanish, leaving behind only fragments of their last movements. And for Detective Cruz, those fragments, an oddly positioned car seat, a lifted suspension, and an abandoned phone were all they had to work with in the search for Arelie Garcia. As the investigation into Arelie Garcia's disappearance stretched on, a series of unsettling theories began to emerge, each adding another layer of mystery to the case. With no new evidence and no trace of Areli, investigators and the public alike turned to speculation, trying to piece together how a young woman could vanish so suddenly and completely. One of the most disturbing connections was made to another disappearance that had occurred in Big Sur just weeks before Areli vanished. A young woman named Kaylee Gamble had gone missing under similarly baffling circumstances. She too had last been seen in the same area where Areli's car was found, and tragically, her body was discovered along Highway 1 2 weeks later. Investigators noted the eerie proximity of the two disappearances, but stated there was no direct evidence linking the cases. Still, the haunting similarity between the two led some to wonder if something more sinister was lurking in Big Sur. A central theory police considered was that Areli may have gone to Big Sur to meet someone. Her family found it strange that she had left home dressed casually rather than in her usual work attire. Could she have planned an early morning meeting, perhaps even hoping to return in time for work? It was out of character for her to skip work without notice, and even more unusual not to tell her sisters, who she typically updated about her plans. Yet, if she was meeting someone, why would she have left her phone, wallet, and keys behind? And if she hadn't planned to meet anyone, what else would have drawn her so far from home without a word? Another possibility emerged as detectives examined her location and the position of her car. Some believed that Areli might have encountered someone after reaching Big Sur, possibly even a stranger, which led to a dangerous situation. The odd positioning of her car seat and the raised suspension hinted at the possibility that someone else had driven her car. Detective Cruz was careful not to dismiss this theory, as it aligned with the unsettling detail that Areli's car was parked in a way she wouldn't normally leave it. But without further evidence, it remained just a theory. Statements from her family painted a poignant picture of Areli as a cautious, responsible young woman who would never simply vanish without reason. Her sister Veronica shared her disbelief in an interview, saying, "This isn't Areli. She would tell us if she was going somewhere, especially that far from home. It's like one moment she was here, and the next, nothing." The family's conviction that something had happened to her weighed heavily on the investigation, and Detective Cruz emphasized their concerns. "We're doing everything we can to understand why she ended up in Big Sur, but right now we just don't have enough answers," he told the press, hoping to encourage anyone with information to come forward. The lack of physical evidence was another perplexing aspect of the case. Despite extensive searches, police and rescue teams had found no footprints, signs of struggle, or personal items in the area surrounding her car. The location itself, a popular but rugged part of the California coast, was remote enough to make a search difficult, but also frequently visited enough that someone might have noticed if anything unusual had occurred. Search teams combed the area for days, covering every trail, ravine, and rocky overlook in a 4-mile radius. Yet there was nothing to suggest where Areli might have gone after her car was parked. Online theories about Areli's disappearance began to circulate, with some suggesting she may have been a victim of foul play by an unknown person in the area. The secluded, often isolated setting of Big Sur added to these fears, with many locals and tourists alike acknowledging that while beautiful, it could also be a place where someone could disappear without a trace. The theories grew bolder. Some speculated that her case might be connected to human trafficking, while others suggested that she might have been involved in a robbery or accident that led her to flee unexpectedly. However, no concrete evidence supported any of these ideas. For her family, each day without answers was filled with growing fear and desperation. Areli's sister Elise shared that the lack of closure was unbearable. "We just want to know where she is, what happened. Even if it's the worst news, we need to know. The not knowing, it's like we're stuck in the middle of a nightmare we can't wake up from." Detective crews acknowledged the challenge they faced, especially given the lack of leads. "It's hard when all you have are questions and no answers," he admitted, "but we're not giving up." The absence of solid clues meant that each theory remained unconfirmed, leaving the investigation in a perpetual state of mystery. As of today, the investigation into Arelie Garcia's disappearance remains active, with authorities tirelessly searching for any leads. Despite exhaustive efforts, Areli's case remains unsolved, a haunting mystery that lingers for both her family and the Salinas community. In hopes of uncovering new information, police have offered a $10,000 reward, urging anyone with knowledge of her whereabouts or the circumstances surrounding her disappearance to come forward. Detective Cruz has reiterated the department's commitment, emphasizing, "This case is far from closed. We're following every lead, no matter how small, to bring Areli home." Her family's determination has never wavered. Since her disappearance, they've organized vigils, lighting candles in her memory and praying for her safe return. Veronica and Elisette have turned to social media, using platforms to keep her story alive and to reach a wider audience. Their posts are a blend of heartfelt appeals and cherished memories as they remind the world of the vibrant young woman they so deeply miss. The family has also created a dedicated website and Instagram page, sharing updates on the investigation and calling for public support in their search for answers. To them, Areli's absence is a wound that will not heal without closure. "We won't stop looking," Veronica expressed in a recent interview. "Every day, we hold on to hope that someone will come forward or that there's a piece of the puzzle still out there waiting to be found." The family's unwavering belief that answers are out there continues to drive their efforts as they wait for the day they can finally bring Areli home. Arelie Garcia's disappearance has left a lasting mark on her family and the entire Salinas community. Her loved ones are haunted by the unknown, facing each day with questions that linger and hearts that ache. For her family, not knowing what happened is a heavy burden they carry every day. A reminder of how quickly life can change in unimaginable ways. The community, too, has felt the weight of her absence, coming together to support her family in their relentless search for answers. If you have thoughts or theories, please share them in the comments. And if you know anything, no matter how small, consider reaching out to the authorities. Sometimes, even the smallest detail can unravel the truth and bring closure to a family desperately waiting for answers.